Have you ever heard someone say, I just can't forgive myself? While it's a well-known concept in counseling context and popular culture, attentive readers of sacred scripture know that self-forgiveness is not an explicit concept in the Bible. So how can we know if this idea is compatible with the Bible? Well, the first thing we need to do is consider the concept of forgiveness in general. Here are three key ideas. Number one, forgiveness only makes sense in light of God's righteousness and justice. In God's moral universe, which is ours as well, every genuine sin or wrong is a moral violation because it distorts the moral beauty or righteousness of God himself. But God's righteousness also dictates that a just God will always address such distortions. So this means a debt is incurred with every moral violation. Number two, forgiveness is first and fundamentally a release by God from sin's moral debt. Whether the violation is against our Maker or against our fellow man, sin is a distortion of God's loving and divine design. Thus, every true wrong should drive us first to God. Amazingly, God offers mercy while still maintaining his justice. How? Through Jesus' death, he has provided full satisfaction for these moral debts. Number three, forgiveness allows us to reconcile our relationships with one another in light of God's own example. Since we exist in God's moral universe and are created in his image, when we sin against others, we also become morally indebted to the person we've wronged. Forgiveness is the act of releasing that person from this debt. God calls us to forgiveness because he himself is a forgiving God who wants us to love as he loves. Now, in light of these clear categories and concepts, if we return to our main question about self-forgiveness, it should be apparent that these ideas simply do not work when applied to the self. Does the Bible say I can morally wrong myself so that I am morally indebted to myself so that I am called to forgive myself? The answer to all of these is no. This simply is not how the scriptures talk about sin and forgiveness. Now, can a person make a foolish choice that results in hurtful personal consequences? Absolutely. But the Bible doesn't speak about that scenario using the language of sinning against oneself. Could the concept be biblical but just expressed in different terms? Well, this could be the case. Given the extent to which God speaks about his forgiveness and forgiving one another, it would be quite confusing if God wanted to talk about self-forgiveness, but decided to simply bypass the established language of forgiveness altogether. That seems unlikely. But none of this means there are not areas of overlap between modern ideas about self-forgiveness and biblical forgiveness. We'll think more about those areas of overlap in part 2.